Good morning. Good morning, everyone. How are you?
Oh, nice to see you, Doreen. Your hair looks amazing as normal. Welcome, everybody. I can see people starting to pile in the chat. My name is Tara Walker. I lead customer success here for Staffbase Americas, and we are ecstatic that you are joining us today. Please, as you come in, beyond saying good morning, everybody. Let us know where you're coming in from. We'd love to see how far and wide we are in terms of attendees today. Atlanta.
Oh, that's amazing. We have people from everywhere: Utah, Canada, Chicago, India, England. Wow.
Ooh,
What a
we're
crowd.
global. We're global.
Yeah, we're officially global now. Spain.
I hope
Oh,
those of you in Texas are thawing out and getting your power back if you haven't.
yeah, absolutely. We have Richmond, Vancouver, New York. I hope the weather is warmer now everywhere in the world and you're staying warm. Yeah.
We were above zero today, so like we're in a
That's
heat wave
progress.
here in
That's
Minneapolis.
progress. Amazing. Okay.
Well, again, thank you all. I know everybody's super busy. I don't know about your world, but mine is starting out with a bang in 2026. All good things, but at a breakneck speed. So with no further ado, I would love to just give you guys an overview of what you can expect for the next hour. It is a jammed packed hour. We are going to start with our one and only Doreen, who will take us through what a great email design looks like in 2026. I've seen her do it before. You guys are going to be loving her content, taking notes, I can only imagine. And then we're going to step into some real world examples with a couple of our customers, one from Intel, Eventbrite, and Axiom Space. It is absolutely my pleasure to be able to talk to these ladies. We get to talk to them all the time. Now you get to learn from them across the globe, apparently. And then we'll end today with a quick demo and a little bit of what you can expect next from us. And we'll take it from there. But Doreen, over to you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Tara. I love I'm super excited for this webinar. And before we get started, I think we have a webinar. We have a poll that we'd love everyone to actually participate into this poll. So the poll is, how do you currently use email in your employee communication mix? So our main way to reach employees, part of a broader multi-channel approach, reserved for high priority or leadership messages. Email isn't a meaningful channel for us. And yeah, please let us know in the chat and take the poll. And yeah, we're looking for the answers. We'll give it a few seconds.
Yeah, I'll start to come in a second here. Ooh.
Oh, wow.
A lot as part of a multi-channel approach. Definitely
Yep.
over half of you.
Definitely not surprised about that.
Doreen, you have your work cut out for you, reaching employees and how to get those important messages at the top.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. I'm excited for that. We're definitely going to touch on this topic today, and I'm excited. Thank you so much for answering that poll. And yeah, I'm excited to dive into this topic.
All right. We'll see you in a little bit. Take it away, Doreen.
Thanks, Tara. Perfect. Hello again, everyone. I'm really excited to be here with you today. So for those of you who just joined or who don't know me, I am Darine. I'm the senior lead designer here at Staffbase, and I've been with the company for a little over 6 years now. So working closely with enterprise customers on employee communication, newsletters, app, intranet, and design strategy. I am deeply passionate about art and design, but even more passionate about how design brings people together, helps teams achieve their goals, and makes everyday work feel more clear and more meaningful. So that's a little bit about me. And the reason I wanted to share that is because it connects directly to why I care so much about employee emails. So I've been working on employee emails specifically and internal communication for a long time now. And if there's one thing I've learned during that time, it's this. Well, this work is not just about making email look beautiful. Beautiful design alone doesn't make people open, read, or act. What really matters is designing emails that people actually care about, emails that feel relevant, clear, and intentional in the middle of a busy working day. So, over the years, working closely with customers, I've seen how much impact a well designed email or newsletter can have. And not just visually, but emotionally and practically as well. When the message is clear and the structure makes sense, people feel more confident. They know why they're reading this, why it matters most, and what to do next. So that's what I care about when it comes to employee emails. It's not about decoration, but communication that works for real people in a real context. And when I say this is something I care deeply about, it's not really theoretical. A big part of my role here in Staffbase has always been reviewing and discussing and designing employee emails and newsletter with customers. And just to give you a sense of that scale, in 2025 alone, I've reviewed somewhere between 250 to 300 employee emails and newsletter templates. So that exposure is what allowed me to step back and start noticing patterns. And not in one company, but across many organizations I've worked with. I have listened closely to goals, main points, pinpoints, constraints, challenges, and across companies and industries, one pattern kept showing up. So, what I've seen repeatedly is that email is often treated as a container. And before I go any further, I want to pause here for a second and ask you all something. So have you ever been in a situation where there's just a lot of information coming at you, updates from different teams, messages from different leaders, and you feel the pressure to get it all out to employees in one newsletter or one email? If you've ever been in that place, please feel free to let us know in the chat. And you're definitely not alone. This is exactly how teams often fall into what I call the container mindset. And let me show you how. So when email becomes a place of information that's collected, it's not because it's not because it's meant to be all together, but it's because it doesn't belong. All the stories is disconnected, and all the stories feels really important and needs to go somewhere, but it's disconnected. So again, the intention here is almost always good, keeping people informed, aligned, and in the loop, keeping them engaged, adding more stories. So that's the good intention behind that in all of the cases. But the challenge is that when email is treated as a container, it often stops being cohesive. And that's where the reader experience starts to break down. And you can see here in that example, the visuals that I put together, is that each section is trying to say something meaningful. There is a story out there, there's an update here, there's an announcement, there's a sign-up link, there's a call to action, and almost every section is asking a reader to do something else next. So now, instead of one clear story, we've created multiple competing stories and multiple competing actions. And this is where we have to shift our perspective to the reader experience. From an employee standpoint, this doesn't feel like clarity, it feels like visual noise, which could impact this in a negative way. So because when too much is included, there is no clear signal. And as you might notice also here in another example, when everything is important, nothing really stands out. The story gets lost, readers don't know what matters most and what they're expected to do next. So as you can see, there's a lot of call to actions here, for example, in one newsletter. So when I'm trying to read this, there is a pink button that's screaming in my, in my screen, that's screaming for attention. And every element we put on the screen is screaming to get the reader's attention. We have to be very, very mindful of that. And that's not because people don't care, but it's because the structure made it harder than it needed to be. So this is exactly why I say email isn't just a container for information, it's a communication decision. And once we start thinking and start treating the email that way, everything else changes. And we start asking, why this email, why now, and why this audience? So design really doesn't create the clarity itself, but it can amplify it. And this brings us to the clarity first framework. This is a framework that I follow and I created, and it has been, I've seen that's worked consistently throughout all my projects. So this framework consists of 4 items. The first one is purpose. And I'm pretty sure everyone has a purpose for a newsletter or for an email. And sometimes it's more of a broader purpose, but I'm talking about a purpose for each and every newsletter. So having a clear and defined purpose, why I am sending this, and what's the main goal of this particular newsletter. And then when we have a message, we want to craft it very clear and very concise content that supports the purpose. And to that, I want to mention something that I get asked a lot, is that how do I know I have a lot of content? How do I know if it's too much, or how much should I add in the newsletter? How many stories, or all of these kind of questions. So the answer is always, I always recommend, when we have a clear purpose, just write it down in one simple statement. And then if everything aligns with that purpose, then you should go ahead and do it. If this story aligns with that purpose, then yes. If this image, this element aligns, then the answer is always yes. And if this is no, then it shouldn't be there. And the third thing is emotion. Emotion is connecting feelings, and it's normally ties to the company values. And this is one of my favorite. As you can see here, I've used the colors on the specific one because I wanted to stand out, because it's really important one. People take decisions when they feel specific emotions. And this impacts our fourth one, which is the action, the desired action, and the next step that we want them to take. A quick, simple example about what I just mentioned. This is a simple layout of a newsletter for a virtual invite. As you can see here, every element is clear. There is a hierarchy. I know what to expect. This is an event. There is a visual that supports the event itself. It's relevant. And then there is a big call to action. So it's really hard to have the reader question anything or why I'm here. If anything, they're excited. They have everything they need to know to make an informed decision whether they wanted to join the event or not. So this brings us to the design principle number 2, which is the intentional elements. So every element earns its place. I know there's a lot of people say, okay, images is really important to balance the text, and we don't have just text in the newsletter. And I agree 100% with that. This is really important to balance things out. However, I would add to that you always have to ask yourself, does this image help someone understand faster? If not, then it may distract rather than support. Images on its own, just for the sake of images, doesn't really help. We have to be very intentional about the choices, because guess what? This is how we build trust. This is how our people trust us, when we are being very intentional, even on the images. So avoid using like stock images. Try to have something relevant to support the message and to make it easier for the reader to digest and comprehend. And this also brings us to the third one, which is the structure. The structure is the respect. Structure communicates respect. And how we structure our communication shows how much we respect them. So this is about the hierarchy, the use of the hierarchy, the use of the spacing and the negative space, the predictability, one idea per section, and clear ending and clear call to action that's engaging. So all of these things really contribute to a very solid structure. So you're not really designing emails. You are designing attention, and you're telling a story with this structure. So this is just another example of how we can design to tell a story. Every section really should earn its place. It's really it has a main purpose. It's like a story, that the people can just read and enjoy in their working day. And there's also the 3-5 second attention window that I love to touch on today. So there's a strong research showing that people form a first impression of visual information in as little as 50 milliseconds and decide whether or not to continue engaging within the 3-5 seconds window. So people subconsciously decide whether something is worth their attention in literally few seconds, and often even before reading it. And there's another point to think about, which is the cognitive load, which is like people can only process a small amount of information at once. So when something really feels dense and cluttered and unstructured, the brain experiences friction and attention really drops. So it basically means that our brain is wired to avoid work. And when something feels heavy, we normally disengage, even if the content itself is important. So I brought you a few heuristics to help you just to self-check before sending it. I know we always use the analytics of the product to see the open rates, the click rates, but I know a lot of you think about before I hit send. Well, how do I know that this email is really, is going to land and, to the employee's desk successfully? So these are the set of questions that I think that are really successful that you can think about or you can check. Can I summarize this email in one sentence? Is the main message obvious in 5 seconds? And is there one clear action, one call to action? So this is really important. And would this still work on a mobile device? Because this is also very, very important thing that we need to consider before we hit send. So if you answer all of this question and you feel confident about your answer, then I would guarantee that the analytics would be as good as your answers. So feel free to use these questions, and I hope this helps. And I would really encourage everyone to think about it's not really the design that holds you back. You don't need to redesign. Sometimes you just need to start with clarity and purpose, and start with small changes that compound over time. Be thoughtful. Put some time into experimenting different structure and learning from different patterns and not just trends. So this is really something that I always advise. And this is a few email samples of the email that I have designed with our customers, which I have applied everything I just shared with you today. So as you can see here, I'm a big fan of a minimalistic design. So these are a few examples that, a balance, good visuals with, of course, the unique brands of every company. As a designer, I'm a big fan of understanding the company brand, and we have big companies, and that's one of my favorite parts, to actually enjoy that, studying each brand to make it cohesive and aligned with their brand. So this is a few examples, and here are a few articles that I wrote on design in general, email design, design system, and employee communication. Please feel free to check them out on LinkedIn and let me know your thoughts and share with me your experience. I would love to know more about it. And I'm really excited to share with you all that we've put together an awesome resource for you all to keep it handy with our amazing marketing and brand team. And you'll receive this employee email lookbook on your inbox right after the webinar. So stay tuned for that. And with that, I would hand it over to Tara.
Hey, Doreen. I actually have a question. I'm going to hit you with it that I read in the chat, if you're okay with it.
Absolutely.
We had a question about what to do when there's multiple calls to action.
That's a great question. Well, I totally understand that. So when there's a multiple call to action, I would always encourage customers to have to prioritize which one is the most important one, because it has to come in an order. At least order them based on their priority, and have the most important one above the fold. So in the top 600 pixels, and make that really nice and clear, and use action words. And then for the rest of the call to action, you can design them differently, so they still can stand out, but they will not compete with the same one. So you can use hyperlinks. You can reverse the call to action colors. This is a lot of times I do this, so they still can be prominent from the text, but it's not competing. They're not competing to each other. So I know where to look at first, then second, then third. And we'll make it easier for employees to also look at everyone and give each one the attention it deserves.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm sure this audience could keep you and ask you questions until Friday, but we can always get people connected to Doreen after as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Tara.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
And I think we're about to be joined with 3 brilliant communicators. There they are now. Hello, ladies. Thank you for joining.
Good morning.
Hello.
I saw Jane giving some pre-tips. I'm like, don't give too much out. You're going to have to answer that question in 5 minutes.
Oh, Tara, you know that I love the sound of my own voice. I have many tips.
I love it. I love it. And hopefully if I don't ask the right questions, you guys can chime in with additional tips. But thank you for joining us. I know you guys are very, very busy. So we have with us today, going from left to right, hopefully everyone's screen is in the same order, Sam Hillstrom with Eventbrite. Welcome, Sam. Now this is going to put me to the test a little bit. I practiced this name, so we'll see what I do. Hopefully I don't do poorly, Nicole. Nicole Ciccati de Osagira.
So close. Amazing.
With Axiom Space, and Jane McIntaggart with Intel.
A+. Nice.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, ladies. I think we're going to start with a quick poll to hear from our audience before we start to dive into some of the questions we talked about. Let's see if that's up and running. Sam, I'm seeing it now. Here we go. See how the answers went in. Nobody has problem designing after Doreen's content. Collaboration. How would you ladies respond? Looks like the designing emails for impact is definitely leading.
Yeah, I think so too. I feel because the impact shifts every time with every goal, with every comm and every comms goal, the impact and the measurement shifts. And I think that's the hardest part to get stakeholders to understand, because it's not their primary job, right? It's just it's one item on what's on their list of launch or, their rollout. And so making sure that we're constantly having that conversation, and they're not just coming to us and saying, we need an email, or we need an open forum, or we need this. So I think that's the part, because you're constantly pushing back against their time and their bandwidth.
Pretty even split between collaboration and scaling. All right, I hear somebody typing away in the background, but I think what we're going to do is kind of go right into it. I'm going to start with this, hopefully a lob for you ladies to get us into the groove. And I'll start with Jane. If you think about a recurring email, newsletter, whatever the right phrase is for you, that you're proud of, that seems to be doing what it's intended, what comes to mind and why do you think it's successful?
Yeah, we have a couple, and we've had a couple over the years, but it's a newsletter, and we send it every other week. And it is basically it's one of our very few regular all company emails, so it goes to everybody in the company, and it's not designed to drive anybody to anywhere. So like the goal is to get people up to speed and keep them in their inbox. So we're not asking them to click on anything. We're not asking them to go. And so each one, it's like usually like 5 stories, and then a kind of a section of like, plus also, go do these things, or don't forget to remember to do your benefits. But it's so different than the emails that we usually do, which is like, people need to go and take this action, or we're trying to shift this specific behavior or mindset, and here's how we're going to measure that based on all of this other crap. So we keep them in their inbox, and then we just basically monitor like the unsubscribes, and then how people are, the sentiment about how people are feeling about the email. And it's one of consistently, like, first of all, we've branded it, like given it a name and a series and stuff, and hearing people talk to us back about that and saying, oh, I didn't get it, like, where is it? And so people asking you for an email is huge. And then also the unsubscribe rate is so low. Like it's astonishing how low it is. And we have the reply email set to like, it's an inbox that we can look at. And we get positive comments in there all the time about, oh, we just love this email. Like it gets me up to speed fast. I don't need to go to the intranet. This tells me everything that was happened in the last 2 weeks in the company. So that one's one that we really enjoy. And we've made it a bit fun, a little bit like it's got a bit more personality to it. And it really, really works.
Hi, what's in it for me factor, and nothing I can do.
And if you don't care, it's like a single sentence that you skip over. It's not like this thing. Yeah.
Unsubscribe speak louder than words on that one. So well done. Nicole.
Yeah. So I think we have a couple that we send out. So we do send out on Monday, sort of roll up of things that employees need to know about. As a startup, we're still developing our processes, developing systems, things like that. So there are constantly lots of changes that employees need to be aware of. So we send that out. But the one that I'm really more proud of is something that we started doing just last year called Wednesday. So it's less, you have to do these things, or you have to go look at these articles, or you have to understand this policy. And it's more, this is what's going on in the company that you can be proud of, that you can be celebrating, that you can support. And so we started that a few months ago, and while interaction and opens and all of those things are really exciting, some of the things that come out of that are more anecdotal, like someone messaging a whole team that they're on and saying, OMG, this made the newspaper, or just fun little nuggets of information that employees bring to me, and excitement, understanding that the information that the projects they're working on are making it out to the company, and the rest of the company is understanding why it's so important to support.
It's their time in the limelight. I love that. Sam, bring us home. Which one are you proudest about?
I am proudest about our weekly newsletter called Bright Buzz, which I cannot take any credit for. Natasha on my team, who's actually watching, hi Natasha, is the designer, the editor, everything in between for Bright Buzz. And we really we introduced that as a weekly newsletter to give people 2 things. What do they need to know for that week, and what do they need to do for that week? And it's bite-sized pieces of information, easy read it on their phone, read it at work, click it. We do connect it to our intranet so they can dive more into that stuff. But it's been extremely successful, and we have I can tell that it's been successful in the business when people use it in sentences. So can we put this in Bright Buzz? Is this a Bright Buzz article? Did you see in Bright Buzz? And that was the entire point of it.
That's awesome. That's got to feel good because all three of you basically said you had like marketing coming back at you from people that had consumed the communication. So well done. I'm going to start with you, Nicole, on this one. When we kind of dove into this a little bit just now in terms of measuring impact kind of beyond the click, I know Jane mentioned no unsubscribed, but when you think about really getting into how is what I'm putting out there impacting the organization or toward the goal, what do you guys look at?
So we look at a number of things, employee sentiment. We look at the normal analytics, the clicks and the opens and all of those things. But what I think of as sort of core to measuring whether or not our communications are a success is the impact on the business. And some of those things do come from those anecdotal things, but having real applications, that many times people come and tell me, this is how this positively impacted the business, or seeing a change in behavior from employees, those types of things. How does what I am communicating impact the business? The other day, someone came to me and he said, we put out this communication and my project sped up. He's an engineer, so he's very precise. He said by 20 to 25%. But because, we're bringing awareness or we're supporting something that's important for the business, one way that we can measure that is not just, how many people read it, but the actual business outcomes.
Nicole, I'm going to just, in terms of how formal versus informal, you said the engineer kind of came to you and volunteered that amazing stat, which everyone gave you kudos for. Are you doing more proactive? Like when we put this out together, what are you expecting and how are you measuring? So in the beginning, you're actually identifying a target, or is it really more organic and after the fact?
A lot of it is more organic. We move really fast, so I don't always have time to proactively request that information, but some of the things are just more visible. A lot of people are excited when they have their information highlighted, and so I do get a lot of feedback from employees. One of the reasons being is, as a startup, this is also a new team. So when I came on board 2.5 years ago, there wasn't an internal comms team, and so there's a lot of excitement just because they now are getting the information they need. They're hearing, about successes across the business, and they're getting their stories told. So a lot of people do come to me with those messages.
Awesome. Sam or Jane, anything else that you're doing, maybe more formalized, just because Nicole's, as she said, is a relatively newer to the program, around measuring and kind of partnering with business owners to drive impact?
Yeah, we do like pulse surveys, regular pulse surveys throughout the year, and then we time them with our quarterly meetings and our earnings and on all those things. I think if you can tie it to business KPIs, it's really helpful, because if you're looking at what the different business groups are tracking against, that can kind of serve as your de facto kind of measurement for outcomes. It doesn't need to be perfectly attributed to the comms. We just need to kind of have credible correlation for comms as like a contributing factor. So safety, communications, and incident rates, like sales enablement and like ramp time, DEI and retention, or like E or G engagement. I think if you're looking at, what their goals are and seeing how the comms can impact and influence that, that's a really good shortcut to, like, we don't need to have our own quote unquote comms goals. It's more the comms serving what the group goals are.
Love that. Credible correlation. I'm totally taking that. I wish more people would feel confident not having like the direct, but the credible. That was very cool. Thank you. Sam, anything to add?
Honestly, no. I think what has been shared is pretty emblematic of the issues that we face with email. I guess, well, I said no, but now I guess there's something I could say. It's a struggle, I think, with getting outside stakeholders to understand what success looks like. And I think it's a perennial issue that exists in internal comms is should we measure click rates? Should we measure open rates? But really you measure behavior, and that's not quantifiable, which means it's also sometimes unsatisfying for leadership in terms of how we measure success. But so much of internal comms is behavioral anyway.
Mm-hmm. All right, I love how you guys are kind of leading the witness here, because we're going to go into, Jane, you talked about a pulse survey, and maybe this time I'll start with Sam on this one. How are you, if you are at all, gathering feedback from employees on the communications that you're sending, either directly about that thing or in general, and any interesting things you've learned recently from doing that?
So if you've ever worked in tech, you know that employees tend to be extremely vocal. And so I could talk about pulse surveys, I could talk about engagement surveys, I could talk about all that stuff. But one of the things that I think internal communicators need to really focus on is actually talking to people. And we have created an unofficial group of like comms champions. These are the people that we go to on every team in every country to give us real-time feedback. And in fact, one of them is an engineer who reads every comment. He asks every question at all hands. He reads every newsletter.
There's always one.
Always one. His name is Adam.
Why?
Everybody has an Adam. I've had an Adam at every single company, and I actually adore this because he keeps me honest, and he's always watching. But I think that it's really important that I found that sometimes internal comms people can get stuck behind their computer, and the most important thing you can do is actually start talking to people, which sounds it's not a revolutionary thought, but most of the time when we're one-on-one with people, they will give us the real information. We've tried to do things within the Staffbase app, like email system, where we've asked for like immediate feedback on emails, and we just don't get as much. We don't get anything really. So it's not a great barometer. I think it's important. And it's also important that you don't pick your friends, because my friends are like, it looks great. It was amazing. It was the best email I've ever seen. But that's not really constructive feedback. So pick the unlikely people, and people like Adam who have an interest in this and who actually care. And sometimes I feel like the squeaky wheels are the ones who are most engaged.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I think we see that all the time. It is easy to hide behind your desk versus getting out, trying to get in front of, sitting down and talking to the other humans. It's incredibly powerful.
Yeah, we do that. We do a combination of that with like the direct feedback, and then we leverage AI to influence our comms with that. So we'll do like the pulse surveys after a big event. We'll do a focus group. So we'll say, hey, what did you think about it? And we'll specifically focus from a comms perspective. Like, did you feel that the information came fast enough? Did you feel like the questions were answered well? And we'll kind of get a profile of what they care about. And then, on an ongoing basis, we kind of track sentiment in the comments and stuff. But we'll use them to this group of employees does not care about these things. Show me where in this message, because we'll know based on their genuine and personal feedback that they don't care about X, Y, and Z. They're like, well, I just want to know when the next reward season is coming, or when are we getting raises? And so, okay, these are what they care about, and this is where they lose trust. Can you refine this draft or suggest cuts to where they might lose interest? And so we'll use their real feedback to gauge what they care about, and then we'll ask AI to assist in trimming out all the crap from the email that they're not going to care about, and then we'll lose trust or we'll lose their focus. It's a really big one.
Oh, I love that, because that's directly applying that to the messaging. Do you get a lot of pushback from your business partners, Jane, when those changes happen?
It depends. I think if you have a good relationship and you're in that kind of trusted advisor thing, you can say, look, emotionally people aren't in the space where they need to hear about X and Y right now. I think we should keep it to just this. And that's kind of helpful. But you can also say look, we AI, all the data on the internet plus memes has said that this section of the email is overwrought, and we're over rotating on this. And it's really hard for them to argue with I don't feel it's a good idea. I've asked for AI refinements on this, and it feels like this needs to be shorter based on these reasons. And so I think it's a combination of the two, your personal recommendation based on I've been doing this for 19 years. So it's this is not what I would recommend for you to do. And then you can always AI as a backup. Leaders are so into AI these days that it's pretty easy to get them to like adjust based on its recommendation if you have the expertise and background to back it up.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like bringing a customer voice into the room to influence, the roadmap. Like, don't listen to me. Listen to, like Jane said this 7 times. We have to do it. Nicole, anything that you would add?
I think so. We're still talking about employee feedback, correct?
Yeah.
So I think I do a number of the same things that Jane and Samantha do, probably on a smaller scale because I'm an individual. I'm the only internal comms person in our company. As a startup, we're slim. We're a slim team. But the same thing, we do polls and surveys, and in our communications plans, we plan out in advance, what's going to be the most strategic way to measure this impact. And so then that's where we direct our surveys and polls toward to make sure that we're really getting hitting the most important points of impact.
Awesome. Well, you started to go down the AI path, and I don't think you can actually have a conversation without talking about it. So I'm going to ask all of you what the one thing, because I know we could go for hours on this topic, that you can do now that you couldn't do, or you can do notably better, faster, insert your adjective because of AI in your job. And I will start with Jane.
I was afraid you're going to say that because I thought other people would help me like whittle down my answer. I have so many. I use AI like all day, every day. I don't use it for like drafting or like I haven't used it to kind of take things off my plate in the sense that I don't use it to like do comms drafts or create stuff that I typically would create myself. One example that I love is exec voice alignment and like voice fingerprints. So creating something like, hey, score this draft against, so I'll kind of upload all of their comms, like the exec comms, like leader messages from the last year, and it'll be like 10,000 words. And then I'll say, okay, this is your baseline archive. I want you to score every draft I give you against this archive for like tone accuracy, technical framing, emotional register. If like a lot of our execs in the Foundry space really like mechanical verbs, so they'll use like build, test, validate, optimize. When throughout their messages, and that's kind of how they like rally people. And so I can say, hey, can you score this against what they have and suggest changes? And then they'll say, okay, you don't have like if it's an exec that has a huge data focus and always backs things up, it's like you don't have enough data to make this point. So you either need to go get some or you need to take this out. And so that's super helpful. And I couldn't do that before because, as I did exec comms in the past, and you kind of have to really get to know the person. You have to really like know how they speak, the amount of transparency that they like those types of things. And you just kind of have to know it. And that's why you get like these people who are like very tied to their exec and the exec really trusts them. And so this kind of allows us to pass that to people, even just for like maternity leave and stuff like that, where you can say, hey, this person's going out, but we have the fingerprint, we have their database, and we can score everything against it. So that's one that I love.
Oh, I'm glad you picked that one because that was my favorite too. Thank you. Sam, and then we'll take it home with Nicole next.
Jane, I don't know why you're not using it to write your comms. I think that one of the things that I think is very interesting about AI for comms professionals is that if you've grown up in the industry, and I'm reading the chat, there's a bunch of us former news producers here. If you grew up in the industry, you really learned how to write, and you really learned how to write for certain audiences. And I think that it frightens me for younger people who are, I can't believe I'm old enough to say younger people, but for younger people who don't have that background, who weren't forced to write and rewrite and draft and redraft everything, I'm worried for their dependence on AI in that respect. But I would say that using AI as a comms professional is really about taking what they give you and putting your own spin on it. So I do use it to write company messages, and the key is that no one would think that. So we don't have a ton of M dashes. We don't use emojis in the way that ChatGPT does. We make it sound human. We replace words, like if replace the word employee with Breitling, we make it sound like us, but what it has done is cut the time down on so much. Like I can whip out I can ask a leader. We ran into this the other day. We had a leader of our engineering team who wanted to send a message to the team, sort of kicking off the year, setting some expectations. And what he gave me was AI slop. So it was a bunch of buzzwords. It made no sense. There was no point, no direction. So I said to him, just tell me what you want to say in your exact words. And what I did was I took his exact words and then put that into AI, and we got a much better version. Obviously, again, it requires someone there to do the checks and balances. But AI has helped really, I mean, with speed more than anything else. And especially when you're a team of one, like Nicole, it's your third comms partner, your second comms partner in everything. I think that, the thing that kind of gives me cringe is when it's very obvious that AI was used. And it's so interesting because we're moving towards this, but yet we don't want anyone to think that we use it, but we do use it. So I think you have to balance, and you have to be able to read what it gives you and be able to say no and push back to it. And I think that's a skill, especially when you're maybe greener in your career and you're like, oh, well, AI wrote this, so I'm sure it's perfect, but not exactly.
I always say nobody blames the scalpel, they blame the surgeon. So I'm like, you can use AI, but you better be ready to lose your job over it, whatever it produced.
Yeah. You're not unaccountable just because you put it into the machine.
Right.
Nicole, what's your favorite? I know we keep saying you're one of one. So how are you using it?
So my favorite use, so I also use it as a strategic advisor. And then I do a lot of times for simple things, we'll use it to get a first draft to work off of just to save time. But for more complex things, such as the science communications, I am not traditionally a science communicator, but now that I work at a space company, I am now a science communicator. And so I frequently will get, 50 pages of documentation about this thing that we're sharing for a team highlight, and I have no idea what any of it means. And I also, as a team of one, I don't have time to read 50 pages of documentation about this technical topic. So a lot of times I will use, I've built quite a few agents, but I'll use AI to help me pick out, what are the important things? What are the wins? What are the key things that I need to pull away from this? And I'll ask from a few different directions so that I can get a really good idea and a clear summary in my mind of what it means and why it's important and why it matters for the team. And so then from there, then I can clearly draft something that makes sense to all employees because I then understand it. And then when I send the draft back to, the engineers or the technical people who provided the information, they say, yes, wow, I can't believe that you understand this. It's a miracle. AI is the best partner for me.
I love it. It's Rosetta Stone for space. I know we're coming up and somebody's about to yell at me to wrap it up. But I do want to touch on this question really quick. So maybe a speed round. There are so many channels, so many ways people consume anything and everything today. There's Slack, there's Teams, there's email, there's internet, podcasts, whatever. How does email fit in your chat, in your channel strategy? And how do you use it maybe to reinforce, and how do you actually even pick what you use in which channel? Answer whatever version you want of that. If we could just do a quick round robin, maybe Sam, we'll start with you.
The way that we have used email is we've used it as the enforcer. So for quick nuggets, we put things on Slack. For things that are not business related, we put them on Slack. We really, so many people will tell you, oh, nobody reads email. Well, we have the data to say that they do. And everybody reads Slack. And then it's like, oh, Slack is too congested. And so I wish I got this in an email. And so you're constantly toggling that as a comms person. But I would say that we've really used email to be an attention grabber for people. If it's coming in an email, it's probably important. And that is because we don't use email as often for messages. We use our other channels. So if it's an email, people do tend to read it because we don't actually send that many.
Got it. Got it. Nicole.
Yeah. So email for us is limited. We don't send emails for everything, and I know everyone wants emails for everything, but I have a sort of a hierarchy of prioritization that I've built, and it's off of that we use email. So things that require an action, things, we do our Wednesday messages, but that's serves a specific purpose. We have leadership messages that go out by email, and then we have regular, reminders on Mondays. But as much as possible, we limit email so that way when we send the email, employees know this is something you have to read. And so there are other things that are less important that we might stick at the bottom of our Monday newsletter that's, low priority, but we're not sending a dedicated email for it.
Got it.
But then we use email also to point people to other channels. So at the bottom of the Wednesday message, you can see this on Astro, which is our intranet. You can see this on Astro, find out more technical details about XYZ things. So then they know they can go there to get more details.
Got it. So lesser volume, getting more eyes, more important than driving them to other channels to kind of reinforce if they want. Jane, bring us home.
Yeah, we use email for business critical stuff primarily. We went about a year and a half ago, I want to say, we went from 900 publishers, people who are pushing out emails, to about 50. And so we kind of had this, I think we had thousands of email going out per week with those 900 publishers. And so people was just over emailing. And so it's really hard to govern and to maintain control when you have that many publishers. And so we we do a couple of things. If it's urgent or critical, email, obviously, but strategic context, that doesn't really work as well in email as it does on a channel that allows space for nuance. So a town hall or a video, strategic context. So we look at what we're trying to communicate, and then kind of go from there. I think the first question is, do people need to know this and they need to know it right now? And do we also need the kind of check of you received this in your inbox, that is it's been delivered to you. So stuff that's where we have legal liability. And so, but ongoing if they need an ongoing reference, it can be on a wiki or an FAQ. And then we segment ruthlessly. So we consider the regional and cultural references of yes, this would do better in a video, but they don't watch videos because they have no time. So it needs to go in a chat message. And so kind of using all the channels in concert and having it be an orchestration between email, intranet, chat, manager cascades, digital signage is the best approach for us.
I'm building a mental content strategy rubric in my head with because the questions and the channels. And if anyone wants to talk about that later, we've got plenty of people that can chat more about it as well. But thank you, ladies. I know it's hard to step away from your day-to-day jobs, and we truly appreciate that you guys were here and sharing. And I think from the chat, everybody found value. So thank you so much. And I think now we're going to speed on over to Chriselle to show some of this stuff brought to life in our platform, and then we'll wrap it up.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Tara. Yes, I'm super excited for this session. But yes, as Tara's mentioned, name is Chriselle. I'm a solutions engineer here at Staffbase, and I have the honor of walking you through our email product. A lot of the topics that was covered over the panel conversations would definitely be reflected in how we address the strategies and the features that we've got in here. So a quick fun fact, actually, before we dive in, and it's very relevant. Based on research by Microsoft, there's around 117 emails that are internal emails that are sent out, or employees receive 117 emails a day, right? This includes other types of emails, but we can mix in the internal emails in there. But there is this golden window based on data, the 12-second window, where an employee determines whether they would stay in an email or move on. And so this is where Staffbase comes into play, and we allow and provide you that resource and solution to give you the administrative power to build a strategy that would create email and content in that email that is relevant, effective, and valuable for the employee. Now, of course, for a great recipient experience, we would want to also highlight the key factor to that is an effective admin experience. And so with that, welcome to your mission control. So what you see in here is your mission control in terms of in Staffbase. You can actually see an overview of all the different emails that are being sent out on a weekly and monthly basis. Now, we use this as the dashboard for you to manage your campaigns and manage your schedule as well. The key components in here, of course, is for you to collaborate with other editors and power users of the platform to see what everyone is doing, what's planned out, what's been sent out. And more importantly, it's to gain control in terms of governance, being able to add a blocker or two based on what you know as an internal communicator to make sure that emails are sent out in a way that would not clutter the inboxes of the employees. Right, so if we look in here, this is a sample of what the blocker could look like. And of course, when we look at the email piece, this is the planning stage where we get to really brew the tea and make sure that we're ready to go and build the email. Now, once we see what everyone's planning, we can actually dive directly into this email tab to see an overview of the emails that are planned, emails that are sitting in draft. One thing to note in here is you can definitely have several governance levels when it comes to grouping your email, knowing that there's probably more than one type of newsletter that are being sent out, and there's probably targeted newsletters that are being sent out to, let's say, just the leadership team, or maybe just the employees who are on the go, like consultants or physicians. And so this is a great way that you can manage your email in one place. Now, going to the design session, right? So if we go directly into the email newsletter, what Doreen showed us is really being able to create that compelling newsletter, which in this case, Staffbase offers in a drag and drop builder. Now, I have brought in different components of our tool in here just to showcase how flexible our designer is in bringing not just content, but also a survey and also a click to action button that would take them to a different segment or a different destination. Now, the key thing in here, what Doreen has mentioned, is really being able to utilize those formatting capabilities so that we can actually get their attention and keep their attention. Now, when we talk of smart capabilities, you might have noticed something in here. With Staffbase, you would be able to collaborate in real time with someone else. So if you think of bringing in your designer in here and also bringing in your other editors that you're collaborating in here, you would actually be able to see where they're at, what they're doing, so that there is no overlap. In this case, I'm editing on a different window, and you would actually see it in real time that this would get updated as I type in. So think of this as your live document instead of having several documents for version control. Now, what's great is as I go into the different parts of the email, as a designer, I will probably dive into the image in here and maybe upload another image. The great thing is we also have a built-in image asset library where you can actually manage all your files in one place with version control. So think of it as for rebranding, expansion, acquisitions, any changes in what your content or newsletter templates would look like, you just really need to update it in one place and it'll show up everywhere. But yes, on the email front, we also have other components as being able to target specific blocks to specific groups. Now, as we see in here, we're starting with more global content, right? And as we scroll down, we would see a section in here that's specific to a new employee. Now, what's great is for those newsletters, to avoid having to duplicate your efforts, you can actually target this blog to only reach that specific group. And as you scroll down, I also have another use case that is super popular, where you would be able to surface different blogs for the same purpose. But because this is targeted to different regions, I'm also able to bring that in because we are connected with your HRIS. The beauty is before you send it out, you can actually view it as that specific individual or group. So if I'm a new employee, I'm actually able to go into the preview and see this specific blog available to me. However, if I'm just in North America, but not a new employee, I could go into the preview tab and see that this or that welcome to Staffbase is not visible to me, and only this specific blog specific to the jobs that are available in my region would show up. Now that's built into the tool, that's built into our metrics as well. So designing your email is easy breezy. And the last component, of course, for global organizations, you'd now be able to also bring in auto translations in here directly in the tool. We have 90+ translations, and you can also have a workflow where you can send this to a specific expert or native speaker in your company to work with you to edit it and approve it before you send it out. Now, what you might notice when it comes to the AI topic, we love AI, of course. Everything in AI when it comes to the Staffbase tool is easily toggled on and off, right? So what that means is if you decide to use our AI components as an administrator, you could turn that off as needed. But one feature in here is the ability to have a summary block, and that's fully customizable. You can edit it as you go, but it creates that too long don't read block at the very top that would allow for your employees to know what the summary is before they dive into the actual email. And the last piece on the design level is customers like Intel get to really benefit and leverage from being able to connect with the intranet news articles directly in the email, where any of these news posts would actually be fully integrated into the intranet. And so what that experience would be is if I click through this article, it would take me directly to a news post that lives in the Staffbase intranet. Now that we know what we know on the design level, let's move on to how the measure aspect looks like, right? I'm going to dive in here, and we can now look into what the sent email metrics would be. So something very similar to what you would see in an email tool, being able to see impressions, visits, clicks, but now the significant parts of this metrics is being able to have a bounce management hub where you'd see whether an email has been bounced because there was a typo on it, or they just didn't receive it because of a technical issue, right? So we'd be able to track that for you and display it for you as well. So you know who actually did not receive the email. Now, the read times bucket also sits at the very right in here. And the key, of course, component of that is being able to know what the read time looks like on this email that you sent out. And now on this click map, which is the favorite of our customers, being able to see which clicks matter most, right? At the very top, we actually have a table of contents that would take me to the different sections of the email. But from there, I'm able to see which topics are trending and which buttons should I keep and maybe remove. And the most beautiful part of this is we're all humans. We can actually edit the link after we send it out. If we want to update the destination link, if there's a typo, that's easily reflected on the recipient's inbox. And that really wraps up our email demonstration. With that being said, we want to, of course, highlight that we're not just an email tool. We're here to provide that leading employee experience for your employees to make sure that we get to reach them where they're at. And now I'm going to pass it on to Daniel, who's going to walk us through on what to expect in the future.
Hello, thank you, Rochelle, for guiding us through this amazing demo. Hi, everyone. I'm Danilo, the Product Marketing Manager for email, and today I'm walking through some of our roadmap highlights. So, what's coming up for email? In 2026, we're focusing on taking email beyond simply reaching an inbox. This is a strong channel for fast, smarter internal communications, and the features we'll deliver position our product as a primarily push channel, which means a place for critical updates that drive alignment across the whole organization. Also, it is an intuitive toolkit that ensures anyone can create and send high-impact emails to the right people at the right time, regardless of their background. But most important, as a solution to everyday work problems, we're able to deliver instant and actionable answers. And we understand AI as our intelligence foundation to ensure that personalization, targeting, and the control break that large organizations require. So to get started, the first feature I'd like to present is something that Rochelle just gave us a quick view. It's the AI summary blocks. It adds a AI-generated summary block on top of every email, and it will give employees the gist of long email threads in seconds, saving reading time in a busy day of overloaded inboxes and short attention spans. In the future, our goal is to push the boundaries of this personalized experience by adapting summaries to each employee's role and needs. The second one I'd like to show you is the AI-powered email designer. We all know how difficult it is to get attention for key updates in a compelling way. We also know that not all internal communications teams can count on designers to support their efforts, creating visuals and delivering that stand-out email. With this feature, we are empowering anyone to create prompt-based, on-brand layout designs and templates in just a few minutes. Last but not least, with event promotion, we are integrating the event management into the Staffbase email. After creating your event, you can drag a promotional block into your email draft in just a few seconds. Also, with a simple ICS download, you can set up events on your employees' calendars. So this will help organization building that connection and trust that it's very important to us, and it's how we want to support people overcoming their everyday working challenges. I hope you're all as excited as I am for the next email releases. Thank you. And now I'm heading over to Tara for a few final words.
Thank you, Dan. Don't worry, everyone. I just have like 15 minutes more. Just kidding. I know we're running a little over, so thank you. Thank you to all of our guests, to all of our speakers, to Dan, to Chriselle. Thank you for spending time with us today. We hope you come back and join us for our Intranet Bootcamp. We will share that information. There's a QR code somewhere on the screen. There it is, if you want to scan that to learn more. We'll be sending out the recording and the materials for today. If you had questions we didn't get to, we will do our best to respond as we circle back. And thank you again for your time. It has been a joy to spend the hour with you all. Thank you. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening. Bye.